Hello, my name is Eddie, and this is Taylor. Behind the camera you have Natalie, and then you also have Sammy right here. Today we're going over the Astrand ergonometer cycle test, which is a sub-maximal test in order for you to understand your sub-max VO2. So for this test, we're going to be doing 85% of your max, so sub-max is 85%. The tools that you'll be using is your good old handed stethoscope, your blood pressure cuff, your good old Monarch ergonomic 828E bike. You also, if you don't want to look at the bike, you also will need a stopwatch. This will be able to help you keep time when it comes towards when you're actually doing the test, and then as well as you cool down. So before you take the test, you want to get your demographics. So this is like your name, the male or female, age, and then the seat height. So before I keep going, we can go ahead and get Sammy's seat height. So what she's looking for right now is her greater trochanter. And once she's went to it, I can adjust the seat to that. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we found it. Her seat height is 6, and you'll write that on your paper just for you to have it down. So then next, you're gonna get her 85% heart rate max. So this, you'll take her baseline blood pressure, you'll take her baseline heart rate, and so then after that, you'll have your 85% sub-max. But the formula that you'll be using is this formula. So it's 207 minus your client's age, and then you'll multiply it by 0.85 to get your 85% sub-maximal. So it's 207 minus my client's age, which I'm not going to display, times 0.85. So what I got is roughly 157 beats per minute. And so this is her threshold. So if she gets higher than this threshold, we will have to stop the test because she cannot get higher than this.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about what we set the resistance to, and that really just all depends on if your athlete or client is conditioned or unconditioned. So if they work out, they're very active, we would consider that a conditioned athlete, especially if they work out aerobically. So on your sheet, you'll just use your sheet and take that on the sheet. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the test, but before we start it, I need to ask my client over here, have you had any caffeine today?
I had my Starbucks this morning.
Have you had any vigorous exercise this morning?
No, I have not.
Okay, so we do take into the fact that she has had caffeine. How long ago did you say you had caffeine?
Like an hour.
Now, okay, so we need to take that into consideration.
Still elevated.
So over here, the test, 6 minutes. You want to make sure that your client is keeping their RPMs between 48 and 52. Now, yes, we have all these things to think about, so try to look at it if you can, but that is something that you need to tell the client. Please make sure it stays between 48 and 52. That is their responsibility. Okay, next, you're going to take heart rate and RPE every minute throughout the 6 minutes. Blood pressure, though, is only going to be in that last minute, the 5 to 6 minute range.
RPE is seen here on the bike. You have your client look at it and just report the number that they feel.
Now that we've established her caffeine intake and her exercise, let's talk about the warm-up phase. The warm-up phase is going to be 2 to 3 minutes at 0 resistance, and during this, you're going to talk to your client and make sure that they know they can stop the test at any time. They're in charge of themselves. So make it very known to them that they do not have to do it, they can stop whenever they'd like.
Okay, so right now, before we start the test, we're taking her resting, or baseline, which we'll call it, heart rate and blood pressure. This is the same thing as in the beginning. Make sure she's been sitting down for at least 5 minutes before taking this. So what I'm about to do is how you should do it while we're taking the test. So her arm is going to be rested onto my shoulder like this. And while she's biking this way, you won't have a bunch of static or you hearing the bike in the background, and as well as her arm can stay as still as possible when you're taking her blood pressure. So just finish up taking her baseline blood pressure. and her blood pressure was 114 over 56 millimeters of mercury. This is actually really good for her. Like already said that she already has had caffeine this morning, but still you do want to take caution due to the fact when she does start working, where her heart rate and her blood pressure is at.
Okay, so now I'm going to take her heart rate, and you're going to do it for a total of 15 seconds. So this is when the stopwatch comes in handy. Okay, so Sammy's baseline was 99 BPM. However, if your client is over 100 baseline heart rate, you can't start the test. So we're cutting it close, but she is under.
Okay, so Semi just is now finishing up her 2 to 3 minute warm-up. So now we're about to get into the test. So this is a time where you want to reset the clock, but then as well as you want to set the resistance onto the bike. So how to set the resistance, you're looking at this tool right here, and this knob is the knob that will move this up or either down wherever you want to keep it. So for Sammy, we're putting it at 1.5. There it goes. Okay, so as of right now, Taylor is taking Sammy's heart rate, and you want to do this every minute. And so, in order to do this around like the halfway mark of each minute, you want to go ahead and start doing it, because by the time you're done, it's moving on to the next minute. So she's taking heart rate, and it's a 15-second interval. And then again, she'll use this chart in order to understand where her heart rate is at during the test. And then she's also going to ask her RPE, her rate perceived exertion. It's on the board scale from 6 to 20. And this is just allowing her to know how hard she is working and how does
Where are you at, Sammy?
7.
Okay.
Cool. So it's very, very easy for her. Okay. So now, we're at the 5th and like around the 5 to 6 minute mark. So we're gonna ask her, where's your rate RPE at?
13.
Okay. So it's somewhere hard for her. So now I'm gonna take blood pressure and Ted's gonna take her heart rate. And again, rest her arm on my shoulder, and then I'll be pumping it up to 260.
220.
So now Sammy has just finished up her test, so now we're going to move into the cool down stage of the test. And so now I'm going to pump the resistance down to 0.5. There you go. And then again, every minute you're taking heart rate and asking her RPE. And then every other minute you'll be taking her blood pressure. And so coming down to it, you have a cool down criteria. So the cool down criteria, you have to do the cool down at least 5 minutes. Okay? And so during this time, you're checking to make sure her heart rate is either plus or minus 5 beats per minute of every previous heart rate. Her heart rate is also less than 120 beats per minute. Her systolic blood pressure is within 10 millimeters of mercury of the previous systolic blood pressure. And then going back to your baseline systolic blood pressure, it has to be within 20 millimeters of mercury of the baseline systolic blood pressure taken. Okay, so this concludes the Astrand cycle ergonomic test. Make sure at the end you answer the questions that's at the bottom of the paper, because this will determine if this is a successful or an unsuccessful test. If you have any questions, you can email us, and have a good day.